Ian.
Respect my authority.
Rineer is at it again.
He's unbothered.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Thai Rivera here, the absolute best LGBTQ comedian in the world. Okay, so the Jan Brady of the Las Vegas comedy scene
Marsha
is at it again. Well, he got upset with me because I called him out on Facebook because everything we do at OCHA, he decides to implement in some way. And it's so lame and tired because at the same time, it's like, one, who cares? But two, why does it have to be every idea? It's just like, Ian, get a life. He claims to hate me so much, but he clearly has an eye on everything we do. Somebody just sent me that and was like, hey, it looks like Ian is doing all of your ideas. And then I was like, I never really pay attention to what Ian's doing. Because I don't, you know, and so it had to be sent to me. Like, all of this stuff gets sent to me. Like, I'm going to come out with some other stuff later. Or it's just like, people send me stuff to stir the shit. But at the same time, it's entertainment. And that's the part that I think Ian really doesn't get about it. Because Ian really is evil behind the scenes, you know, as far as tries to tell people I'm a bad person and all sorts of lies about me. And all anybody has to do is hang out with me for 5 minutes to realize that I'm not the person that Ian says I am. So what he does is he tries to scare people from me right from the beginning, you know, and it's just like, I don't care. To me, that's truly evil. Like, what I do on this podcast, I have fun. It's for entertainment. It's for you guys to watch. It's to let people know about things that are going on in the Las Vegas comedy scene. Like, all of it's just part of a show, you know, and there's very little outside of a couple of things that really have gotten on my nerves, because even when I talk about other people, like, I always concentrate on the fact that, for me at least, this is all, and these are all supposed to be about the lesson, not the person. So even when I talked about Summer Sinclair, she read into it all sorts of things.
How horrible I am, how terrible I am, and that I'm a worthless human being.
Which none of those things did I say. But what I did do was actual 100% constructive criticism. But instead, she tried to make it seem like it was some sort of victimization. And that seems to work for her. She got a couple things booked or whatever. And so it's cool. You know, I don't have a problem with it. That's, to me, at least a smart use of it. Even though I don't know if she did it on purpose. But I consider it to be a smart use of it. She actually got herself a little bit of a springboard from me bullying her. But if you listen to it, it's just like, maybe your brain translates constructive criticism to that, but really that's not what I was doing. I know when I'm being just shitty for the sake of being shitty. Another person that I really don't understand is Delilah. Like, I mentioned her on the last episode, but I don't really know if I'm going to do a full episode about her, because she said one thing that really was true.
I am boring.
In an interview she did about me, or in a part of a podcast that she was on where she turned it into something about me. That thing was,
I am boring.
and I could not agree more, because that's the other thing people don't get about this podcast, is it's not always easy to make you guys sound interesting. This really is a job, and I don't have a problem with Delilah. That's what she doesn't get. She has a problem with me, but I don't have a problem with her. I just think people like her should do what they're supposed to do on the comedy scene instead of make problems or whatever it is they call themselves doing. To me, Delilah, a good use of her time would be to actually get better at stand-up, because I've seen her a couple of times in the last couple of weeks and she's still having these weak-ass sets, and it's like, bitch, as long as you're not having good sets, you're not talking shit about anybody but yourself. You need to have your head down, writing. That's what you need to do, is write. You need to tighten up that corset. You could also moisten up that wig a little bit. Those are things that you could actually work on. You want to say I'm a sociopath, you want to say I'm a narcissist, whatever the fuck you want to say about me, say it. I don't care even a little bit. Have your point of view. But from everybody else's point of view, those sets need to get better, that corset needs to be tightened, and that wig needs to be moistened. Anybody will tell you, girl, it's all easy to see. And Delilah just got on my nerves because one night she wouldn't let AJ get on stage at her open mic because you know, she was mad at him about me, because there's no other reason that if a person signs up first and doesn't get put on the list, that's not the way comedy should run. And I know you live in a very vindictive way, but it's just not going to serve you well karmically. So I'm not even going to like have anything that I want to do about that or where I'm going to get in it. You be you. And if you're happy with the choices you're making, you stay happy with the choices you're making. I personally would not want to run my life that way. I may be not always the nicest guy or not say things in the nicest way, because the truth about me is I am actually a nice guy. People that have actually hung out with me know that I'm not just some asshole. Yeah, I talk like an asshole and I'll say whatever the fuck I want, and every once in a while I will talk shit, but I'm really not a bad guy. But then you have these people that are truly not focused on what they should be focused on. Like when it comes to Ian, he's not smart enough to see that we could actually work together even if we didn't work together. Because supposedly he wants to get the comedy scene better here in Las Vegas. And I know for a fact that I want the comedy scene here in Las Vegas to be better. And so what he could do is not give people a hard time about working with me, about dealing with me, because I can help them grow. And sometimes it's just in the stage time that I can offer, or in them having a room that they can do on Thursday night. So why would you want to discourage somebody from getting what they need to get better because you don't like the person that actually runs it? And so instead of just saying you don't like that person, you don't care for that person, instead you try to make it seem like that person is actually something bad or something evil, or they shouldn't be there. I'll tell you what's evil. The reason I even had Ian on my radar originally, and this was the real reason I wanted to go after him, really I don't care about him copying the ideas. That's just an excuse to publicly be like, okay, let's do this, little sis. Because I did mention that, like, he's like my little sister at this point, because she's always talking about me, Marsha. So David Hewlett comes up to me last week after Ocha Bar, because for the last 2 weeks now, this will be week 3, Ocha Bar. If you ever get a chance, check it out. If you're an audience member, starts at 11. Come watch the show. The comedy is getting better and better every week, and I do mean that. You guys will have a good time if you come out to Ocha. And just come out for a little bit. Have some dinner, have a couple drinks, leave when you leave. Don't try to stay the whole show or whatever. It can be kind of long. I mean, if you love comedy like that, we had a couple people do that. But don't feel obligated. Just come in, get your fill, get some food, get the fuck out. I really like what that room is turning into. I wouldn't bullshit you guys. It is what it is. And so we have David Hewlett now, who David Hewlett was an MMA fighter, and he's a super chill, super cool guy, single father. And David Hewlett's great. I want to have him actually on the podcast at some point. So anyway, we have David Hewlett playing I think it's a piano, or maybe it's a church organ. Who fucking knows? I'm not musically inclined. Anyway, it is what it is. So he plays next to the stage at Ocha, which reminds me of when Jeff did like by the stage, which I'm not comparing the two in that way, because Jeff was at the Comedy Store forever. But there was a piano guy at the Comedy Store that used to play a keyboard, and his name was Jeff, and he was pretty much considered a regular. He got his name on the wall, and he deserved it because he had been at the Comedy Store since Mitzi Shore was there. And it kind of reminds me of that, even though it's not obviously the same. And David is figuring it out and learning to play different things, and it's just fun between sets for him to play comics on, and then sometimes he'll lightweight heckle, or when we're saying stuff, he'll be playing things, or if somebody makes a reference to a song and he can play it. So it adds to the show. It's fun. It makes it more of a show. And so David at one point comes to me after the show, and he's like, man, Ian really hates you. And I was like, I know, but what did he do this time? Or how did he let you know? You know, because like I said, I don't care. So to me, it's funny. You know, I hear it and it's funny. And keep in mind, David doesn't care if I say any of this, because it's all just the truth. And if he didn't want me to say it, not like he was trying to put it in my ear to say it, but if he didn't want me to say it, he wouldn't have told me the way he told me, because it was just very matter of fact. And so I was like, I know. So how did he tell you, or how did he let you know? And then he was like, I mentioned something about doing piano. I think it was at Star Lounge. I'm not 100%. Don't quote me on this part, because it's the end of the night at Ocha when I'm getting told this. So a lot escapes, you know. And so David says that he had mentioned something about that to Ian, and Ian yelled at him, which I have a real problem with, because nobody should be yelling at anybody. Like, that's just not, especially over just who they hang out with. Don't yell at anybody about that. Whether you like it or not, whether you want to be or not, whether I want you to be or not, Ian.
Respect my authority.
Rineer, you are a leader in this comedy scene. So act like a leader. Leaders should not have to yell at people like that. Yeah, if there's... I can't even think of a good instance where you would need to yell at somebody at an open mic. But he yells at David Hewlett, who could rip his head off. Like, there's no... but David wouldn't do that. He's not like that. And he's like, you know, he's a chill guy. And so that's why Ian knows he can get away with it, because David Hewlett is just going to blow it off anyway. And it's not like he's in any way afraid of Ian. Nobody is, to tell you the truth. That's why, like, when I record these... like, people really pay attention to them, because I really put it to Ian. And it's like, Have you ever been at a job and seen somebody just fucking chew your boss's ass and you're like, well, they don't work for you, so I guess they can do it, and you just love it? There's a part of the comedy scene that really does love it when I take the piss out of Ian this way, because he needs it, because he's such an uptight, like, he plays this hippie type character, you know, where he's just like, oh, good times, and I love everybody, and I smoke weed, and it's like, no, you are yelling at people behind the scenes, which is unnecessary. And, but I, you know, am more, boisterous, shall we say? And so I am like this. And so people have this idea that when I'm working with people, I'm going to be abusive or whatever, you know, like part Delilah, this story she tells about Ocha, which is not true at all. Like no part of that story is true the way she tells it. Like she'll take the most easily provable, like,
I was in talks to do an Ocha.
and it's like, you tried to go in and talk to Ocha 3 different times. You didn't meet the person that actually you were supposed to meet. You can't be in talks with Ocha if you're not actually talking to the owner, because that's the only person to be in talks with Ocha with, which anybody there, anybody involved with the situation now will tell you that. So saying you were in talks with Ocha is completely untrue. If you were in talks with Ocha, you wouldn't have hit me up to see if I had a contact for Ocha. So, like I said, it's the most easily provable, where it's just like, okay, that's not true, and that's just what it is. But Ian, too, will do the same thing. It's like these people are compulsive liars, and they just don't want to admit it even to themselves. Because, like, Ian will talk shit about me like this, and then I guarantee you he'll go back to David Hewlett and he'll try to gaslight him into believing that he either didn't yell at him, or it's like a Jedi mind trick, but he's really bad at it, which he accused me of the other day on DM, because I got him in DM as well, where I was like, you know, anytime I get tired of you, like your show will end. Definitely one show I know I can take out. And that's just because of his associations, and he doesn't even realize there's another thing that's part of that I'll easily just, but I don't want to do that because I do feel like his rooms are important. So me doing that would take away from the Las Vegas comedy scene, because people do need that stage time. Comics that I like go to that room and do need that stage time. So I definitely do see, and I've said this several times, how Ian is important to the Las Vegas comedy scene, but his toxicity is what's not necessary, because David Hewlett got yelled at because he does the keyboard or whatever you would call it for me and AJ's show, but mainly because it's my show and Ian really doesn't like me. Where if you think about it on the opposite side, I could say to David Hewlett, look, you play the organ for Ocha. We want to keep that an exclusive thing. One of the things that makes our show special. We don't want you doing it for Ian. And David Hewlett could either say yes or no to that. He could continue to work with us or just go to work for Ian alone. But I don't say anything like that to David Hewlett, because to me, David Hewlett doing that in Ian's room or rooms, however many places, will make David Hewlett better for when he comes back to us. You know, so when he's working with Ian on the other nights, then on Thursday nights he's with us, then he's even better because he's been able to practice those other times doing it during Ian's shows, which that's one thing I've told David Hewlett about, because he asked me for constructive criticism because it's our show. I mean, like, it is me and AJ's show, so of course we can have opinions or say what we do or don't like. And really, I just tell him to be more of him and to have more fun with it. You know, like, heckle a little more with it. Make it add to the show. Because I really want to see him get better if he's going to do it. And also, he'll build an even better rapport with the comics. And so him and the comics will used to be playing with each other at the other rooms. And they bring that same good energy to our room. And it just makes it a better show. How does Ian not see that too? Why is he mad at David Hewlett for working with me and not just being like, here's this tool this guy's picked up or is picking up that might add to all of our shows, or as many shows as he can possibly do? Why should we not all use him in that capacity? Why would that not be a good thing to make all of the Las Vegas comedy scene maybe a little bit more unique, and that we have that in some of our rooms? Because there is enough audience to spread around in Las Vegas. I've said that over and over. That's why I don't worry about anybody. That's why I invited some of the best comics that are currently here now. I invited and urged to live here. Like Tricks, that's my problem. I brought that on because I harassed the shit out of Tricks because I thought Tricks was funny. I thought Tricks was talented. I knew that they said that he was a joke thief in the past. I knew that. But Vegas is a city of second chances. So when people really try to come down hard on me about that, it's like, no, you shouldn't get fucked over just because you're nice enough to give somebody a second chance and say the past is a past and we all have a past. But if that person fucks you over, it's still them fucking you over. Technically, it's even worse because you're one of the last people probably that's going to genuinely take a chance on them. Like, you know, I do, even though people will try to make it seem like, oh, I'm just drama and whatever else. I have a great reputation as a stand-up comic. That's why I have some of the friends that I have. That's why I don't worry about the Las Vegas comedy scene when open micers talk shit about me, because it's like, I know what I do. I know who I'm friends with. I know who I'm connected with. So I don't worry about any of that in that way. And I don't feel threatened by anything on this scene. There's nothing you can take away from me on this scene. I mean, like, even if I did all the paid shows every week, which nobody does, even the comics everybody likes the most, like Chris Shaw, one of my very good friends, a great comic, everybody loves him, but even he can't do the shows every week because a lot of times it will be consistent audiences. But even if I were to do all of those shows every week, it still wouldn't be worth just the coaching that I do, which is one of the things that Ian talked about when I accused him on Facebook, or just called out, because it wasn't really an accusation. It is what it is, girl. But it was one of the things that he called out was, he said, like, you know, unless he's trying to con open micers, something to that effect, then he's not doing what I'm doing, con open micers into taking a comedy class. And it's like, all you have to do is watch me on stage to see that what I can offer in coaching is definitely going to be worth what I charge. All you have to do is watch my Comedy Tip Tuesday and watch the information that I give for free to know that if I customize it to you, then it's really going to work fast. Like Linda Marcus Smith was the person that worked with me for the longest and the person that I really did it for. And she's doing well. Everybody's seen Linda Marcus Smith get better. And Linda Marcus Smith is super funny, super great. I love Linda Marcus Smith. And she's really figuring out her own voice. So you're not going to tell me or anybody else that what I do isn't worth it. And that's why I'm thinking about charging even more to the people who come on in the future, because one, like I said, I don't want it to take up my life, but in a sense, even if I just do one person, it does take up my life, because I'm always thinking about what they can be doing better, what they're doing right, how I can, like, you know, help their set. If I can help them fix a joke, then I'm great with that. If it's just like pushing them to think about the joke, whatever they need, I truly do customize. It's not like you get a syllabus and these are the things we're going to do. No, I'm going to watch your set and then we're going to come up with a customized plan for you. And the thing is, if I don't think you're funny, if I don't think you have anything, if I think you have a hard head, I'm not going to deal with you because I don't need your money like that. But that's my point, is like, I don't need this scene for anything. So it's kind of consequence free for me when I say things like this. And Ian doesn't really get that. And people will get like, why are you poking the bear? And it's like, because it's not a bear. It's an open mic producer in a bear suit. That's the way I feel about Ian, is he's not a bear. He tries to act like he's a bear and he yells at people like a bear, but he's not really a bear. He's just a guy that happens to book a couple open mics or produce a couple open mics, and I respect that. But at the same time, I'm not going to act like you're some authority in comedy or you really know something. You really don't. Like, a lot of people could set up rooms, and that's what's going to happen, is people are going to continue setting up rooms. But anyway, my point is, anything that makes the scene better is something we all should be for. I don't see why we should be fighting over each other when, if we're really being honest about what it is we supposedly want, then we should want the scene to get better, and we should want to, even if not directly, work together. But instead, Ian tries to badmouth me all the time and try to keep people away from me, which I really, like I said, don't care about, because eventually he's going to expose himself, and that's just what it is. Like, with people like that, you don't have to try to end them, because they're really going to end themselves because of his paranoid thinking, because of his turning me into an enemy that I'm not anyway. Like, he's kicking out a bunch of money for the, you know, different prizes and stuff like that just to compete with us. But it's like, we're not competing with you. We don't think like that. Like, I would not throw more money at anything because of anything Ian
Respect my authority!
Rineer is doing. It's like you're trying to keep up with the Joneses, and the Joneses don't even realize you live next door. But anyway, all this stuff is just brought to me at different points. So when David Hewlett, because like the reason I paused when I tried to describe David Hewlett is because David Hewlett is just a really nice guy. And I don't know how else to put that. And I don't mean to sound cheesy, and I'm not trying to kiss his ass. We're friends. And I got mad at him one time when he asked me for help with the podcast. And then I got there and he wasn't ready for me and his phone wasn't working or he wasn't answering his phone or whatever. Don't waste my fucking time. Yeah, I love you, but don't waste my time because I have other places to be. And if I offer to go help you with something, especially for free, because it was like podcast help. And so I was like, yeah, don't do that again, David. I feel like just leaving right now. And we got through it and it was fine and everything. And it's not like I'm harboring or talking shit, but it's just something that actually happens, and let you guys know we don't have that relationship. But also I know that David Hewlett isn't an animal and can understand the way things work. So it is what it is. But my point is, he's such a nice guy that you don't have to yell at him like that. See, because if I wanted to, you know, if I was that hothead type, I would have got out of the car yelling at him and how dare you keep me fucking waiting. And it was long enough. You know, I don't like to wait at all, especially my hernia was hurting that day. And I had, I think I had to meet with Linda on that day. But yeah, they needed technical help. And so, you know, but he's just not, you don't need to yell at him. I mean, like any of these people, really, you don't need to yell at them. Everybody's just cool. Like, do you know, I've been working with AJ since October, and I have yelled at him exactly 0 times, which is the correct number of times that you should have to yell at somebody that you're working with at an open mic. You know, maybe like when me and Jaws and Steven, which Jaws, I talked about her today because I really don't think she's a headliner and doesn't need to be headlining anywhere. She's basically a weekend warrior, and the Vegas comedy scene is like, let's make sure Jocelyn headlines. Let's make sure Jocelyn gets on the show. Why? So she can eat shit again? Everybody knows Jocelyn Sharp eats shit all the time. Like, she was a decent comic at one point when she was in practice and getting up and getting around, but now things aren't really popping off like that for her anymore, and she refuses to go to the open mics, which I don't blame her, because with that makeup, you really do need a long time. And I'm not talking shit about Jocelyn's makeup. Jocelyn's makeup is on point. Her comedy is not, though, and that's what I have a problem with. I would never talk shit about Jocelyn Sharp's makeup, because anybody that ever saw that makeup would be like, bitch, what the fuck's the matter with you that you don't know that's good makeup? Are you a fag or are you not? So I definitely am not talking shit about Jocelyn Sharp's makeup, but I'd be just as honest when I'm talking about her comedy, and it's just not where it needs to be. It always sounds like she's reading a presentation. I've said this before. And even more so now, like, she did headlined at Backstage Bar and Billiards, and I got reports back because I didn't show up to Backstage Bar and Billiards. That's Fitzy's show, and, you know, me and Fitzy aren't the best. He doesn't like me at his spots because I make the less talented uncomfortable. But anyway, yeah, so she headlined that show, and I got reports back from friends that were in the audience, and more than one friend that told me Jocelyn said more than one time, reminded the audience that you can laugh. It's okay to laugh. Oh, it's okay to laugh? You know what, Jaws? When you're doing well in a set, you don't have to tell the audience that. They just laugh. Sometimes you want them to stop laughing. Sometimes they're laughing too hard. Sometimes they're laughing too long. Sometimes they're laughing too loud. Well, that's the way it goes for me anyway. So I don't know what you're popping over there, but I hear bad reports. Like, I hear you not being able to follow your features, which should not happen. If you can't follow your features, you don't deserve to headline, and that's just the way it works. That's not me speaking. That's the world of comedy. So, you know, Fitzy can argue that, or anybody can argue that, but I dare you to argue it with me, because I'll make a solid case for what I'm saying. I've been doing this a minute, and I know some people will be like, you know, well, you've been doing this for 19 years. You should be that good. You know how many motherfuckers have been doing this for 19 or 20 years and aren't as good as I am? It's just what it is. I'm something special, and I'm not going to pretend I'm not. And that's why I want things to go well here in the comedy scene in Las Vegas. That's why I want things to progress. That's why I want things to get better, so that I have a good place to play and a good place to work out. Not only am I not worried about the competition, I am creating the competition. I want all players on the fucking field. Just like Tricks, I don't want Tricks canceled. When I prove I'm better than all of the motherfuckers in this city, I want Tricks to be on the field. So I don't know why people don't understand that. Like, Ian should feel the same way. If he's king producer, you be king producer. I'm not fighting for that. I don't want anything you have. I don't want your life at all. I don't want to sit next to the stage with a mic and shut up. Nobody wants to hear you laughing through their set. Just let the comics do what they do, and if you ever get brave enough, you jump on stage yourself, give a quick twirl, a parade wave. They're all going to laugh because you book them and pay them anyway. But I was saying he was driving himself into the poorhouse, I'm sure, by paying people. And, you know, it's like $200 for a prize or $100. Like, he did one where he went all out, where somebody sent that to me. And I was like, well, God bless her. Go make your money, kids. Go take your money from Mama Ian and come over to Daddy Ty's Ocha Bar and buy you some dinner, girl. Buy some drinks. Tip Nat. Tip Josh on your way out, too. Hell, you just made some money, bitch. I might show up for that money. But no, seriously, though, I mean, like, it's ridiculous. But if that's what he wants to do, that's what he wants to do. And then, you know, anybody I say I don't like on my podcast, all of a sudden he'll start booking them. Like Summer Sinclair, everybody started booking her. I'm a star maker at this point. That's how helpful I am. Even my talking shit about people gets them more opportunities and more spots. Things just grow from me, and I don't know how Ian can't see that. You, Ian, are a dry desert. You are a barren woman, and I am fertile. I make things happen. So I don't really know what it is we're supposed to argue about. Just accept that I'm better and move on with your life. It's terrible to compete with people that aren't competing with you because they don't even realize you exist. And here you are out of breath for no fucking reason. Just go at your own pace, girl. Be open mic producer king. Be open mic king producer. See, I don't pretend to be smart either. So I don't even know why anybody would see me as a threat at all. I'm just a dumb guy that does stand-up comedy and happens to have a good personality. And so I think that's what bothers Ian so much is he really doesn't have a good personality. You know, I heard even when I thought we were friends that, and I heard this from reliable sources, Ian I'm sure knows this is true, because the funniest part about Ian is he pretends to be all cool and chill, but really he loses it behind the scenes over me. And this I've been told by several people, like, it's just common knowledge. I send her into a tizzy. Smoke comes out of her ears. She really doesn't know what to fucking do with herself when my name comes up. Which I tell you is way too much energy. You're giving way too much energy. Like me, I give you this solid 30 minutes and then I am done thinking about you. I have shit to do. I have places to go. I'm getting my new apartment because, you know, this spot right here, that's the thing. Kool-Aid said that I was homeless. That's something a friend told me. And see, I'm not even at this mic and Kool-Aid's talking about me. So apparently I'm very relevant in his life. But he said that I was homeless because I had posted on my Facebook that I was looking for an apartment. No, I'd be homeless if I had posted that I was looking for a room. I'm not looking to rent a room, which is what you rent, Kool-Aid. It's just I can move if I don't like the way a situation works. Unlike Kool-Aid, who lives with the child molester because that's the only rent he can afford. I personally would not live with the child molester just because that's the only rent I could afford. Then I would actually be homeless, and I think everybody would kind of understand that. But I also think there's more options than a child molester, even if you are running low on funds, Kool-Aid. So maybe there's a little something in common there or something else going on, because otherwise I don't know why you've continued to live with that child sex predator for as long as you have. But it is what it is, you know. But my situation is completely different. What happened with me is me and my roommate don't get along. She misrepresented herself and pretended she was a cooler person than she was. I personally would have no reason to lie because she really wanted me to be her roommate. And I was 100% honest about what I am, who I am, the hours that I keep. Me and Beej live on our own schedule. I sleep when I sleep. I wake up when I wake up. I cook when I cook. But suddenly my roommate started getting mad about me just living my life the way I live it, which I don't go out of my way to be loud. At the same time, I don't go out of my way to be quiet because that's the agreement that we had when I moved in. I didn't realize, though, she only wanted somebody to pay half of her rent, and I was cool with having a roommate. And so, you know, her being annoying while I'm sleeping, I don't care about. Her being awake even while I'm sleeping or making as much noise as she wants, like, none of that stuff bothers me. It could be annoying if I were being like her, but for me, that's just not a thing. You know, I know most people are day people, and so they're going to be awake while I'm asleep, and they're going to be doing things at the volume they do them. Just like this right here. I record my podcast at the vocal volume that I feel is the most necessary for what it is I'm talking about and how it is I'm doing. Like, I don't want to have to think about this. Like, one day I was recording my podcast and she started coughing super loud in her room, just I'm sleeping in here cough. Another time I was on the phone with my earbuds in and I was talking on the phone to a friend. I was in the kitchen and she wakes up to tell me that I'm talking loud. And it's like, bitch, if I was talking loud, the person that I'm talking to on the earbuds would be like, girl, why are you screaming right now? I'm not talking loud. I'm just living my life at a regular volume, and that happens to be at an hour that you want to be asleep, which is, I think, around 12:30 that time. Then there was another time where she yelled in front of one of my friends because she was upset because she thought that they were too loud. And for me, you should never do that. If you have to take me aside sometime and just be like, hey, your friend was kind of loud. And my friend was just talking in their regular speaking voice, but their regular speaking voice is kind of loud. And so I had asked them to bring it down a little bit, and they had brought it down a little bit. And then she still came out pissed off. So I've had to have several conversations with her about things like that in a very short amount of time. I moved here in December, and we've had to have more of those conversations than I ever want to have with another adult, and I have the means to move, so why wouldn't I just move? And so I asked if anybody knew of an apartment because I wanted something quick, because right now, if you know the market as far as apartment goes, they can take their time because they have so many people looking to move in. And so I wanted something that was just going to move fast, because obviously if we're not getting along, I'm going to get out of here. Like, that's the way I work. Is I don't ever want to be up anybody's ass. I don't ever want anybody up mine. And so I'm just going to get another apartment for me and Bijou, and that's going to be the end of it. But I know when you're broke like Kool-Aid, you don't think that there's another choice. Like, you think that if you decide to move out of your apartment, it's either the place you live or homeless. And that's what'll make you be stuck living with the child molester. So I definitely understand where the confusion would come in for you, Kool-Aid, because your reality is so different than mine. But we definitely don't live the same kind of lives. We ain't got the same problems. We ain't built the same, bitch, literally and figuratively. So I would say keep my name out of your mouth, but you obviously can't keep anything out of your mouth. So I think that's all I have to say this week. Stay unbothered, everybody.